You're on Popok Live, Tuesday nights, Midas Touch Network, for an emergency update at the intersection of law and politics. I'm going to be covering the brand new filing we just received by Donald Trump's lawyers in the Stormy Daniels hush money case, citing to the Hunter Biden pardon as partial grounds to have his conviction overturned, let alone him not being sentenced. That's not all, folks. We've got a cabinet filled with unqualified, obscenely unfit people. And now at the last minute, Donald Trump and his team have decided, because now the public has spoken and they have no other choice but to have the FBI get around to doing the background checks that would have revealed all the sexual misconduct that's been alleged against Matt Gaetz and now against Pete Hegseth and others. I predict that they're going to use the FBI background checks to take out their own cabinet members and remove some of the most extreme ones that they know don't have a chance of getting through the Senate. Then I'm going to turn to Georgia, where we have a brand new order that just came out again today, courtesy of one of the judges in the Fulton County criminal court, trial level court, McBurney, against Fani Willis for of all things, failing to respond to a lawsuit brought by a MAGA entity, this judicial watch brought by Tom Fitton, to try to get records of communications that don't exist between Fani Willis and the special counsel, Jack Smith, and between Fani Willis and the Jan 6 committee. There are no documents. She's already told the court there's no documents, but it looks like her office missed a couple of deadlines and is now going to potentially have to pay attorney's fees to Tom Fitton for him having to file the suit. Want to know more? And then finally, pardons. They're on everybody's mind. How should Joe Biden, now that he's crossed the Rubicon and ripped the Band-Aid off and granted an extraordinary Nixonian-like 10-year pardon for Hunter Biden, who else should he pardon? Strategically, he's got one superpower left, Joe Biden. How should he use it? How about pardoning everybody that's been a prosecutor against Donald Trump to make sure that the new Department of Justice, headed by a Trump lackey, Pam Bondi, who's been nominated, or Kash Patel, heaven forbids, FBI, going after Jack Smith or Fani Willis or Alvin Bragg in New York, where this new filing just got filed, or any of the judges that have been against Donald Trump, they all need a pardon. You know, this is like the old Oprah show. Everybody gets a car. You get a pardon and you get a pardon. Let's do it. Yes, it's probably going to invite pardons by Donald Trump, but he was going to issue thousands of pardons anyway. You're on Popok Live Tuesday, Midas Touch. Let's go with what just get filed. And let me just do a little bit of housekeeping and a disclosure. I am mentioned, along with Michael Cohen, on page, I think it's 16 of the new filing here by Donald Trump's lawyers as a basis or as evidence that Michael Cohen has an axe to grind against Donald Trump, and therefore his witness testimony in the Stormy Daniels case should be thrown out, and the conviction should be thrown out along with it. Apparently, that was the comments they're referring to is the day I appeared with Michael Cohen on a show. So it's at Cohen Popok, explain it all, and I'm cited in there. It's been quite a 2 weeks for me. 2 weeks ago, I was on Russian television. Yes, Russian television, not by choice. They played a hot take of mine from Legal AF about Boris Epstein's role within the Trump organization in picking lawyers. They ran a story about Trump, and there I was with a snippet, untranslated, of me on Legal AF, the podcast, or Legal AF, the YouTube channel. That was just 2 weeks ago. And now I'm in the Trump filing on the motion to dismiss. Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. If we don't report on the news, we make it. That's our new motto. All right, let's get back to the filing. What's it all about? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I reported that Donald Trump asked Judge Merchan in the Stormy Daniels case to give him time to file a motion to dismiss in the interest of justice, because he had just been elected president. And as president-elect, he had all sorts of what he claimed to be powers and defenses and separation of powers. And he's president-elect, and there's transition things that will be interfered with all of this, and just throw out the conviction. Okay. I said earlier that the judge is not doing that. Okay. A jury of Donald Trump's peers, whether he likes it or not, after a 6 or 8 week trial, has spoken. They heard all the witnesses. Donald Trump had an opportunity to testify. Many people that work for the Trump organization testified against Donald Trump. Everybody involved in the conspiracy except Donald Trump testified, and he got convicted. He got convicted. There's no other way to put it. He's got 36 felony counts. And just because they are, like a baby in a high chair throwing whatever they can against the wall doesn't mean the judge has to listen to it. This would just got filed, 80 pages or so, wouldn't even work as an appellate grounds. Now, any of these issues they've raised, Michael Cohen is biased. The prosecutors are biased. The judge's daughter works for Democratic entities in fundraising. All these other ridiculous things. They're all, if you think you have an appeal, and you think you can get these issues reversed on appeal, then bring it. But this isn't, our guy just got elected president again, so he gets jackpot, it's a cherry, jackpot, everything goes away. They wrote a letter to the Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, telling her she had to dismiss and vacate her $450 million judgment for civil fraud because Donald Trump just got elected president. What does it have to do with his pre-president fraudulent conduct that he's had to repay to the people of New York? What does that have to do with anything? And what does him getting elected have to do with crimes that he did and the cover-up he did before he was president in 2016? As I've said before, the Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up interference in 2016, all of that happened. The cover-up happened before he was president. That's what he was trying to cover up, that he was having sex with women outside of his marriage or worse. And that's what but the payback of some of it happened after he was president. That's not the crime. The crime is the conspiracy to catch and kill the news stories around it, and not the payback later through Michael Cohen after Donald Trump was in the presidency, writing in his personal memoir and his personal checkbook to pay back this personal debt. Okay. So they don't like that. So first they take on Alvin Bragg. Well, very first thing they do, I'm going to read to you here, is that they go after the Hunter Biden development. Here's what they say, how Hunter Biden is possibly related. This is not the feds. This is the state. This has to do with pre-presidential conduct by Donald Trump. Yesterday, they say on page 1, in issuing a 10-year pardon to Hunter Biden that covers any and all crimes, whether charged or uncharged, President Biden asserted that his son was selectively and unfairly prosecuted and treated differently. He was. President Biden argued that raw politics has infected this process and led to a miscarriage of justice. This is in a memo accompanying the pardon, which, by the way, Biden didn't have to write. All he had to do was pardon the guy, but he wrote the memo. These comments amounted to an extraordinary condemnation of President Biden's own DOJ. This and oversaw the politically motivated election interference witch hunts targeting President Trump. Well, if there were supposed to be election interference witch hunts, they failed miserably because Trump got elected. What does this have to do with anything? I mean, this is a state prosecution. Here it is. Matt Colangelo used to work for the Department of Justice and became a special prosecutor along with Alvin Bragg in New York. I mean, it's so attenuated. There's so little connective tissue here, but that's where we have. Then they got to go after Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg was busy going after Trump instead of going after violent crime in New York. I don't even know what he's talking about at this point. I live in New York. I'm in New York right now. I mean, crime rate has gone down considerably since COVID under Alvin Bragg and under the law enforcement and police in this country. But we got to do a political screed here in the middle of his motion. Then they got to go after, just wrong, they keep saying Alvin Bragg campaigned to run for office, to run for the Manhattan DA, which is an elected position on the campaign platform that he was going to go after Donald Trump. That's a lie. That is a lie. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, ran on a platform that she was going to go after Donald Trump in her own way, if that's where her investigations led. Alvin Bragg was asked once on stage during a debate whether he would go after Donald Trump, and he said, if there's crimes to go after, I'll go after. The office he was taking over, the Manhattan DA, was already in the throes of an investigation for years by Alvin Bragg's predecessor, Cy Vance. He was already in the midst of investigations about tax fraud, which he successfully convicted. They leave that out. They leave that out that Alvin Bragg also got a 19-count felony conviction against the Trump Organization for tax fraud and business record fraud 2 years ago, involving the same people like Alan Weisselberg, the disgraced chief financial officer for Donald Trump, who went to jail. They leave that out conveniently. Just throw out the conviction of the jury because Alvin Bragg's a bad guy and Cohen perjured himself. The jury evaluated Michael Cohen's 3 days of testimony. They weren't watching his podcast. They weren't watching me on his podcast. I mean, maybe now they are, but they weren't then. They had plenty of time to cross-examine them on this. They picked a jury. They asked the jury, where do you get your news from? We were upset. We thought they should have asked, do you get your news from Midas Touch? They didn't ask that question. They could have asked that question. They obviously know who Legal AF and Midas Touch are, but they didn't ask it during the jury selection process. Who's that on? That's on them. Now, let me just remind you who the them is in this story. The two lawyers that filed this piece of paper, one is Todd Blanche, the other is Emile Beauvais. They're partners. You know what they're going to be doing in about a month after they get confirmed? Deputy Attorney General of the United States, assistant to the Deputy Attorney General for the United States. Donald Trump put his entire criminal defense team, private lawyers, into the government. They're supposed to be the people's lawyer. How are they going to be the people's lawyer? They're still on the payroll of Donald Trump in any event. Then they make a big deal out of something you may have forgotten about. Mark Pomerantz. Let me bring him up for a moment because it's in this briefing. Mark Pomerantz, particularly, was a special prosecutor, was not inside the Manhattan DA's office. Special prosecutor, along with Carrie Dunn, another one, who got brought in by Alvin Bragg's predecessor, Cy Vance, to evaluate things related to Trump. He was convinced that they should go after Trump for tax evasion. They should go after Trump for all sorts of things, including the Stormy Daniels case. When the election happened and Cy Vance got elected, they made a pitch to their new boss. And Alvin didn't like the case. He didn't like the case originally. He didn't like how much it relied on Michael Cohen, and he didn't want to bring that case. He liked the case of tax fraud better. And Mark Pomerantz, God bless him, he didn't like the fact that he was being rejected. And so he quit noisily by writing a letter to the New York Times. And then he wrote a book called The People versus Trump. And he sold a few copies. And then he got dragged before the Republican Oversight and Judiciary Committee by MAGA. And then he took, who knows why, he took the Fifth Amendment, which is the weirdest thing. He took the Fifth Amendment against criminal prosecution and didn't answer any questions. I mean, Mark Pomerantz did not cover himself with glory. And of course, front and center is Mark Pomerantz. Mark Pomerantz knew it was a bad case. Mark Pomerantz wasn't the prosecutor. Mark Pomerantz didn't know how a year or two later, Alvin Bragg's team developed the evidence in the case. He'd already left the office. That'd be like me commenting on the strength of the case for the prosecutors based on things I don't know about, as opposed to what's in the public domain. But of course, they're gonna get mileage and throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Now let's do Mark Pomerantz. Now let's do the crime spree in New York. What does that have to do with anything? Oh, there were leaks. Oh, your daughter, Judge, earns a living. She has a job. Yeah, okay. And you're biased somehow. They've raised the bias of the judge now 4 different times. All have failed. Now look. I could go on with all these arguments. There's no victims. They stole the money, but they paid it back in time. So there's no victims. This is sort of the argument in all of this. There's no victims with Stormy Daniels. You know who was victimized? This was books and records combined with election fraud. This was fraudulent books and records to how they recorded the Stormy Daniels payment, combined with the fact of why they did it, which was to hide the payments from the American people to commit election fraud and tax fraud. That's called fraud. Business record fraud is a fraud in New York. I'm sorry. It's the business capital of the world. You're going to jail for it. So this is going to be filleted. It's going to be a vivisection, by the Manhattan DA's office in response. Their response is that I think in a week, and that's it. And then let me make a prediction. The judge is going to deny this. He's going to deny this. They can take it up on appeal to the First Department Court of Appeals in New York, which is the first level of Court of Appeals. They'll lose there. Then they can take it up to the Court of Appeals for New York, which is the highest court in New York. And I think this whole thing plays out through the beginning of 2025. Again, he's not going to get sentenced. I want to make this clear. Donald Trump he's going to occupy the office, and 4 years from now, he's going to get sentenced. And hopefully at that time, he's going to spend a couple of years in jail. But that is a 2029 event, just to be clear. Let me move on. Stop talking about all the things that just happened a second ago. Let me go back to earlier today. Okay. And let me talk about what happened in Georgia. So in Georgia, I'm going to make this quick because I'm going to take a quick ad break in a second. So in Georgia, well, let me tease the ad break a little bit. Let me tease what's coming up, and then we'll get to an ad break. Coming up, my producer's like, Popok, come on, do this right. Coming up, we'll talk about a new order of default against Fani Willis. Unless she coughs up documents that don't exist, and now she's going to have to pay attorney's fees. A bizarre event that I'll try to resolve here. We're going to talk about cabinet picks and why I believe Donald Trump has finally gotten around to signing the final agreement for transition to let the FBI, with only, I don't know, less than a month left on the clock to get background checks done. Maybe because some of his cabinet picks are not doing well as they're running it up the flagpole in the Senate, and they're trying to give an excuse to exit a couple of them. I'm looking at you, Hegseth, for defense, or you, Kash Patel, or RFK Jr. for Health and Human Services. And then we're going to talk about at the end, pardon me. Which I think should be used by Joe Biden to protect and put a ring fence around a number of people that all they're guilty of is protecting our democracy and our constitutional republic. But first, thank God we got sponsors after Election Day. They're here. They're with us. I don't know what's going on with MSNBC. It looks like they're having a garage sale over there. But the Midas Touch Network, we're strong. I don't know if you saw some of the promotional things. We're number 2 after Disney Plus or after some Disney show on all of YouTube. And we beat Joe Rogan, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, all of them. Because you're getting your news from MSNBC. You're not getting your news from MSNBC anymore. You're getting it from Midas Touch and from Legal AF. So here's a word from our sponsors. We've talked previously about how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see. Your name, contact info, social security number, and home address. Even information about your family members. All being compiled by data brokers and sold online. As a person who exists publicly, especially as someone who shares my opinions online, I am hyper aware of safety and security. And privacy matters more than ever. It's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. All this data hanging out there on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world. That's why I decided to give a Delete Me subscription to my wife. Now look, my wife is the handyman in the family and does so many things beautifully, but tech is not one of them. And I worry about her online presence, especially given my work in the media. Giving her a Delete Me subscription made her happy and let me using it, and then she realized how insecure she was before and how protected and proactive she felt now. It empowered her. That's why I personally recommend Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. Sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners and their loved ones. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and use promo code legalaf at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and enter code legalaf at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/legalaf, code legalaf. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now look, I won't lie. I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially. But then, while hanging out with my fantasy football draft crew over at our favorite Jersey Shore sports bar, I gave it a shot. And believe me, it's the real deal. I spent the entire next day doing all my favorite things with my family, including a long hike on our favorite trail. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol, and I wondered what it was actually like. But now that I've tried it, I believe the hype. And with their GMO technology, they will release different products that help address toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/legalaf to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LegalAF at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about Georgia. I used to like McBurney. McBurney's made a lot of really good decisions. He was the first one to say that the Georgia Constitution protected a woman's right to choose and found a constitutional right for a woman to make her own choice about reproductive health. I like that about him. Made some great decisions when Fani Willis was running the special purpose grand jury for Trump by him. He was the presiding judge there and generally makes good decisions. But all of a sudden I see something and I'm like, what? So Tom Fitton, I can always remember his name because he's always wearing a too tight shirt, is a non-lawyer that runs something called Judicial Watch. It's a MAGA. They're always filing ridiculous lawsuits that generally lose. And records requests. Let's get this document and that document. So he had a working theory that Fani Willis was cooperating and coordinating with the Jan 6 committee and or with Jack Smith for her prosecution. By the way, I'd like them to cooperate. They're allowed to cooperate. I don't understand the problem here. Sharing evidence and information, they could have an interagency agreement. What's the big deal? She made some comment in an interview, which I think was stretched completely out of context about her interactions. And now Tom Fitton made a request under public records law, which he's allowed to do. I'm not saying he doesn't. He isn't. Asking for documents related to those communications. And very quickly, the records custodian for the Fulton County DA said none. Well, Tom Fitton, without any other information, said, "Oh, I don't believe you. I think they exist." Now, the only way he could actually say that is if he had obtained the other side of the email from another subpoena or records request and could wave it around. He doesn't have that. So he filed a lawsuit claiming there was one when there wasn't one. A public records demand. Now, the way public records law work, if you have to file a complaint and there are actual documents that should have been produced off your original demand, the governmental entity, or in this case, the DA, is going to have to pay attorney's fees for that. Normally, there's a complaint and then there's an answer. And you would say, like Fani Willis, none. There are no documents. And then if he's got anything to prove that there are, they can have an evidentiary hearing and we're off and running. But apparently there was a default judgment now entered today. What does that mean? That means somebody screwed up in Fani Willis's office about 3 times. She got served with the initial complaint because that's what the judge said. She then got served, her office got served, I don't mean her personally, but her people in her office got served a second time because the judge said, "That's weird. Where's the Fulton County DA's filing, their answer? Maybe they didn't get the complaint. Serve him again." So Tom Fitton served him again. And there's still no response. And then another passage of time. And then the period of time that you're given to fix a default went by and nobody appeared for the Fulton County DA. And the judge says, "Listen, Fulton County DA, you've been in default since April. This is December. I don't know why you're missing all these deadlines, but you didn't respond to the complaint, so I'm going to find against you on default. You have 5 days to turn over whatever documents are responsive. Again, if it's none, she can't create documents that don't exist. She can't fabricate them. But I don't know. And then you owe attorney's fees, which she says we're going to do a hearing in December about it. And the sad part is, I just think it's a screw up in her office. I don't think she's intentionally flouting the rules of Judge McBurney. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would she ever do that? And then have to pay attorney's fees, $15,000, $20,000 for it. So somebody's getting fired. What's that sound? Some clerk, sorry, paralegal, somebody that runs that office for service of process is getting fired. Because there's no way that I think Fani Willis did this on purpose. We'll have to see what she files. Now she's going to have to file an entire mea culpa, bended knee, I'm sorry, I can't believe it, and all of that. And pay attorney's fees, which is a waste of taxpayer dollars. She got reelected on election day as the Fulton County DA. She's got nothing to hide or nothing to worry about. So we'll continue to follow that weird story. And then let's talk about I'll start this topic of the cabinet picks. Now, we have been training our fire on a number of these picks and using our bully pulpit, our audience, linking arms and shoulder to shoulder to try to get rid of some of these people. I'm not taking complete credit for it, but I also believe there were a little bit more than the hummingbird effect. And we and our audience particularly contacting their senators, their congresspeople, us keeping it in the media, us keeping attention on it, help get rid of Matt Gaetz with his sexual predator allegations and pedophile and sex trafficking allegations as Attorney General. Boom, put him aside. Now we're looking at guys like Pete Hegseth for the Department of Defense head, to be the head of the Pentagon. Same thing. He's got sexual misconduct, a rape allegation, financial misconduct, personal misconduct, all coming out now in new reporting in the New Yorker magazine. What is causing this? And one last thing. Apparently, the Trump transition team is all upset at Hegseth that he had the police report from the rape allegation and never turned it over to them. So now, all of a sudden, after that reporting, within 48 hours of that reporting, the Trump transition team, and after I called them out on hourly hot takes about their failure to sign the transition memos with the Biden administration and the government to get clearance, security clearance, to get background checks started with the FBI, they finally, just today, signed an agreement to have the FBI do the background checks. Of course, they left them only 4 weeks to do them before the new Congress comes in and the confirmation hearings start. My prediction is that they need it to get rid of some of these people that Donald Trump put up without a proper background check. And they're going to use the FBI investigation as an excuse rather than them take them out. We wanted Pete Hegseth, but the FBI found some devastating things. But we wanted him. You saw, we put him up. You know, it gives them cover with MAGA. We put him up. We took him down. We put him up. We took him down. I think this is going to give them, this is the cover they need to get rid of RFK Jr., to get rid of Tulsi Gabbard, to get rid of Hegseth. Okay? And they can point to the FBI, which is currently under the control of the Department of Justice and Joe Biden. Oh, it's Joe Biden. We wanted him, man. You know we wanted him. That's what I think is happening here. Because I don't think, I've said this on a hot take recently on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, is I don't think we are, I think we've seen the last almost of Hegseth. He's made it past the 8 days that Gaetz made it, but he's not going to go much further. I'm not sure he gets put up on the allegations. It's not one woman who claimed rape. It's dozens of women. It's public intoxication allegations while he was the CEO of 2 veterans groups. And this wasn't youthful indiscretions. He was a major or a captain in the military. He was a Fox contributor. He was the CEO. He's pulling down a couple $100,000 a year when he tried to get up, as alleged, on a what do you call it? On a dance floor at a strip club, right? And attacked all the younger women, you know, and that's, and nobody can say that's out of character for him. Even Megyn Kelly said, I worked for the guy. I'd never date him or marry him. He's got 2 children out of wedlock, 3 marriages, 2 of them on the rocks. And his own mother, Penelope Hegseth, came out with an email at the time that said, you are a serial abuser of women and you need to get help. All around the same time of out-of-wedlock children, impregnating a Fox producer, and the rape allegation. Mother knows best. I mean, that's all we can say. So I think, again, this FBI thing is a ruse and a smokescreen. They're finally capitulating because Susie Wiles or some adult that works in the Trump transition team, and I use that term lightly, has finally said, we got to get rid of these people. We got to get rid of these terrible picks that you made without me and without background checks. Let's use Biden's FBI to do it. I thought they hated the FBI. That's the other thing. I thought Donald Trump wanted to fire Chris Wray, the head of the FBI, with 3 years left on his 10-year term. A guy that he appointed after Mueller. Okay? I mean, after the prior Comey. Okay? Now, and they want to get rid of the FBI completely and have it lobotomized by Kash Patel, who is the most QAnon conspiracy deep state guy around, totally unqualified. I'd have to do a whole show about how many senior people were going to quit because Donald Trump wanted to put Kash Patel into a position of leadership. He said he's going to mothball the FBI. He's going to sell the FBI headquarters, make it a museum to deep state, and send all the FBI around the country and have them serve as cops. Just dismantle our intelligence community. But now they're like, no, let's use the FBI to do the background checks. I'm telling you, this is to get rid of Hegseth and maybe RFK Jr. and hopefully Tulsi Gabbard. I'm going to cover all of that and so much more, including, pardon me, who else should Joe Biden pardon? What does it matter anymore? He could take all the arrows and slings and arrows because he's never running for office again. And it won't matter to the Democrats. By the time we run for office again at midterm, Donald Trump will have pardoned thousands of people, including many with his last name. You don't think all of the Trump kids aren't getting a pardon? All of MAGA Congress? All of Jan 6th? Add it up. It's going to be a couple of thousand. He might be think of this. Think of this thought. This might be the first incoming presidency or presidency that pardons people in his own cabinet. Right? That's who's coming in. Now, listen, if you like this kind of work, this kind of at the intersection law and politics commentary analysis like no other, like Popok Live on Tuesdays, Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, everybody. every day, every way. Legal AF, MTN for the Midas Touch Network. We do it in collaboration with them. Come on over. Hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500,000 before Jan 1. And now another word from our sponsors. Golden Nugget Online Casino invites you to turn the cold gold. Transform your winter moments into winning ones with all your favorite slots like Icy Wilds and more, plus other casino games. And now you can enjoy special seasonal rewards all winter long. Whether you're spinning reels or doubling down, make this a season to celebrate. New players use code LEGALAF and have your first deposit matched up to $1,000 in casino bonus funds. Just opt in and make a minimum deposit of just $5 or more today on Golden Nugget Online Casino and complete the playthrough requirement. Make any moment golden. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please play responsibly. 21 plus. Physically present in Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. 1 per new customer. Receive deposit match on first deposit after opt-in. Up to $1,000 in non-withdrawable casino bonus funds that require 10-time playthrough within 7 days at different contribution rates on select games. Terms at goldennuggetcasino.com/welcome. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored advice to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then, Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does. Optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. It can also track your cycle and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts so you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/legalaf to get 15% off your Lumen. That's LUMEN.me/legalaf for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. If you ever worry about the safety of your home and family, there's no better time to act. Right now, Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for my listeners. Get 50% off a new Simply Safe security system. Simply Safe is the home security I trust. I've been using it for the last year and love the peace of mind it brings, knowing my home and loved ones and cherished items are protected 24/7. Get 50% off today just by visiting simplysafe.com/legalaf. This is your last chance to protect your home at Simply Safe's lowest prices of the year. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. For years, I used old school systems, sensors that fell off doors and windows, and phone calls from the dispatch after something went wrong in the house, but not before. That just won't do anymore in 2025, especially with the new post-election environment. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. If someone's lurking around or acting suspiciously, their agents see them in real time. Talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, and even call the police before they've had a chance to break in. Plus, they are no long-term contracts, no cancellation fees, and it's around $1 a day for all this protection. Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for my listeners. This week only, you get 50% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is your last chance to claim their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/legalaf. That's simplysafe.com/legalaf. There's no safe like Simply Safe. All right, we're back. Let's do pardon me time. No, it's not speed chess. Let's talk about the proper use of Joe Biden's pardon power. Look, he's already taken the flack. Jeffrey Toobin, who's a reporter who got caught masturbating during a Zoom call when he worked for the New Yorker magazine. Oh, it's a disgrace to the Biden legacy. It's a stain. It's being used in a way that's never been used before. The whole world is being used in a way that's never been used before. If it wasn't Trump coming in with his threats of weaponization of the Department of Justice and of the FBI and removing their independence, I don't think Joe Biden would have done that. But he has to, because it's not enough. Plus, his son's sentencing was coming up in a couple of weeks for the tax evasion charges. All right, so use it. It's your last remaining superpower. I'm talking to Joe Biden now. It's your last remaining superpower. It really is. It's unassailable. Nobody can criticize it. I mean, they can criticize it. Nobody can reverse it. There can't be a court about it. You know, you got Donald Trump jumping up and down in his new filing. Oh, it admits that prosecutors are biased. I don't think it does that at all. But why don't you protect Jack Smith? Joe, lame duck Joe, lame duck President Biden. Protect Jack Smith and his team, Merrick Garland and his upper echelon. Every prosecutor that touched a file with Trump's name on it. Every FBI, same thing. Give Jack Smith, give them all. And the other prosecutors, Fani Willis, Fulton County, Georgia, Alvin Bragg, who got the double convictions of Donald Trump. Letitia James, New York Attorney General, give them pardons, right? Just do a master pardon, global omnibus pardon, and just say, see, attach Schedule A for list of names. And then there's no model for this. There's no template in the Constitution for the exercise of the pardon. Any pardon is fine. Could be verbal. You don't have to do it in writing, but just list, the dozens of people that need to be protected in the Department of Justice and in prosecutors and attorney general's offices, all of whom touched a file that had Trump's name on it. That you got to do. Judges too. You think Kash Patel's not going to open up an investigation against Judge Chutkan in the DC election interference case? Judge Merchan in the New York case? Judge Engoron in the fraud case? Protect them too. They need protection. So I'm not kidding. I know people are like, come on, Popok. Donald Trump, write this number down. Donald Trump is going to pardon close to 2,000 people. Really? I mean, right away. I don't mean like at the end. I know that the Jan 6 insurrectionists are getting a little bit nervous, a little bit sweaty because, I don't know, they thought he'd be talking about it more. Why isn't Donald Trump talking about pardons? He's not tweeting. He's not social posting about me. Maybe he's thinking twice about it. Trust me, he's going to give the pardons. Just relax, But I'm serious about it. I'm serious about it. He should do it. There's no political reason or expense to Joe Biden. He's out of politics. He's never going to run for another thing again. He and Jill are going to go off into the sunset, have an institute, sit on some boards, do a couple of speeches, and all of that. That's all he's going to do. And the Dems don't care. Exit stage left, Joe Biden, do the pardons for the good of America, move on. By the time the new pardons come in for Donald Trump, we won't even remember the Biden pardons. Seriously, we won't at the time of the midterms. And some people have this weird calculus that we're giving license to Donald Trump to give the pardons. We just gave him cover. Are you kidding me? Who out there, put it in comments, who out there thinks that Donald Trump was waiting for Joe Biden to give him permission to pardon 2,000 people? All of the Jan 6 insurrectionists, everybody in the MAGA Congress, everybody in his administration, incoming and outgoing. Who thinks that? Nobody. Everybody knows he was going to do it anyway. If anything, it worked the other way. It gave Joe Biden license to pardon one person, but I'm pitching for more. Do more pardons, right? Jesus. Sorry. Got hot there for a minute. I'm glad you're here with me. Popok Live. Unfiltered, unplugged, occasionally unhinged here on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. Take a minute, go over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel. It started it just before the election, got 350,000 subscribers already. We're doing 6 or 8 videos a day, exclusive content you can't find anywhere else. We've got a show called Unprecedented about the United States Supreme Court once a week. Court Accountability Action is over there with me, looking at fraud in the judiciary all the way up to the Supreme Court on a regular basis. They got an amazing group of operatives there led by Lisa Walsh and Alex Aronson. Got prosecutors like Shan Wu, got Dina Dahl with me. We got Karen Friedman-McNiflo comes over and does hot takes. It's an amazing ecosystem. We'd like you to join another pro-democracy channel. So until next Tuesday, until midweek edition of Legal AF, the podcast with Karen Friedman-McNiflo and me. Saturday, Ben Meisalis, my co-founder of Legal AF. We also do the show then. And then, of course, hot takes, I don't know, about every couple hours right here on the Midas Touch Network or fill in the blank, Legal AF, the YouTube channel. I'm Michael Popok. And I'm reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.